Heichel Menachem is working on a Tanya Mevoeres in English. So there was a meeting about how and was. Not so much the translation as the beer. In English, what should the beer be? Can't be the same as the one they have in Yiddish or in Lashon Kodesh. Different questions, different people, different. Anyway, so in the conversation, it came out like this: has Chassidus come to America yet? Chassidim came to America. Rebbe came to America. Did Chassidus come to America? Because we're having a problem. How do you translate Chassidus or Tanya into English? So there's all sorts of debates going on. But man gesehen that there's a basic problem. If you're translating, it's already a chesron. You're translating from the real, from the original, to a different language. It's already not good. How come nobody has to translate Chassidus from Yiddish or into Yiddish? Because whoever was a chassid in Yiddish. When Chassidim davened under the talis for 6 hours, in what language was it? In Yiddish. Came to America, they davened in Yiddish. Maybe even they taught Tanya in English. But when they davened in English. When they were misbeinen in English. It was all in Yiddish. So Chassidus has not yet come into English. It would be nice to see a chassid sit and daven for 6 hours, all in English. Yeah, you can't even imagine it. Sounds funny. But this is what's missing. What's missing is Chassidus English? Or is it a foreign language? So when you say to somebody, how do you translate Eid Ein Sof into English, and they say cosmic light, this is nicht gerät. That's not English. How do you excite somebody that he could do something to produce cosmic light? He'll get up early in the morning for that. I mean, who doesn't want cosmic light? Aber es ist nicht gerät. I was talking to some Bachrim. I said, what do you want to discuss? They said, the Sfiris. I said, okay, good. What's a Sfira? You know, the 10 Sfiras. Yeah, but what's a Sfira? Yeah, Chesed, Gvura, Tefel. What is a Sfira? We don't speak English. I'm afraid we don't speak Yiddish either. So you get it, you know. So this is what we need. We need to run up a shtickle svara. Yud Daled Tammuz in Hayem Yem. There's a interesting pisgam. You know what it is? Yud Daled Tammuz. Why the people in America don't fall down? B'tirutzam einei emes. And the real answer is because of Igulim on the Himmel in America, the Zelber Himmel was in Rusland. What is that? What's the hero? What's the point? And what is it? What's the Sheikh's Yud Daled Tammuz? So it's possible Yud Daled Tammuz was after Yud Beis Gimel Tammuz, which means the Aveda in Rusland was finished. And the beginning of Birer Chatzi Kader HaTachten started. So immediately the question was, Chatzi Kader HaTachten, America, in America fällt man herab. In der Teretz, der selber Himmel, was in Rusland is in America. Which is the beginnings, the edler way of saying America is nicht anders. But in some way, I mean, it's America. It's not Rusland. Chassidus has to come to Chatzi Kader HaTachten. Has it come yet? So practically speaking, we have this problem. A person comes into a Chabad house and says, what can I read on Lubavitch Chassidus? What are you going to give him? What is there? We don't really have. Go learn Tanya. Or better yet, if he comes in and he says, Al regel achas, tell me, what are you? Every shliach gives a different answer. We're all talking Chabad, we're all talking, and everybody gives a different answer. Which is not terrible, but it shows that we don't really, es ist nicht durchgetracht. We don't have a clear definition of ourselves. Chassidus, Chassid. So there's a need. The Balabatim in Chabad houses don't want to hear how great it is to be a Jew. They
Is
got
there one definition?
no, certainly not. But maybe we should work out an agreement on where should we start so that people don't get confused. It shouldn't be whatever hergish you have that morning. The Olam wants to learn. That's the crisis right now. The people who come to Chabad houses, they come for a year, 2 years, 8 years, 10 years, and every time they come, they hear the same thing. They want to learn already. They got it. They're interested. Yeah, they'll put on tefillin. Yeah. Whatever else you want. Shake a lulav and that's it. Yeah, they'll come. They'll dance and chasteda. Now they want to learn. And if they don't hear anything, they'll go someplace else. Because over there they learn. Over there they teach you something. And then we get angry at them. We attack you. What's going on? A bacha learns and davens and then all of a sudden decides, Sigarnish, Megarnish, and he walks away and nothing. How can that happen? In my days, a bacha fried out, he ate a little chalavaku. But no Eberstein, no Rebbe, no, what is that? What's happening here? So what's going on inside is also part of what we need to know for the outside. What are you going to tell a person who wants to become a chassid that the guy who is a chassid missed and decided to drop out? Or to put it in different language, you're telling me to become a chassid and your own kids are becoming eis chassidim. So what's going on? It's like a revolving door. Everybody on the inside is going out, and everybody outside is coming in, which is a good deal because they are much more outside. So you've thought about it, Mr. Thomas. How do you put this in words? What's missing? A bacher is learning Chassidus, and is unsupeilt nicht. Why?
Fried Rebbe always said the reason why Chassidus not poil is because you do all the Avedas. All the Avedas a person does. It's not, even if you learn a lot of Chassidus, it's not going to be poil.
How recent is this?
Wait a second. Matani zindig in Zakstan.
If you want to talk Chassidus, be poil. That's what it comes to.
Chassidus. Saswara, maybe taki.
How recent is this phenomena? It wasn't always like this.
No.
Well, suddenly something happened. I assume you don't want to blame on Gimel Tammuz.
No, it started before. Gimel Tammuz was the perfect excuse.
You're talking about people that learn Chassidus or the people that should learn Chassidus?
No.
People that are Aldego Chassidus.
No. People Pashat sitzen and learn and
Learn Chassidus.
Yeah.
And what percentage of them are you talking about?
even if there are two of them.
There's two.
How do you explain this? Was er dort geschehen?
You see, it's 100.
Oi! Everybody has a Yetzer Hara. Listen, we have a Yetzer Hara umzindigt. And Chassidus is supposed to be stronger, more powerful than your Yetzer Hara with your Nefesh Bahamas. At least in something.
It's still Muhammad. It's still.
Yeah.
And I'm all. Whatever. I'm saying it.
But that's why Amol had men gezende Muhammad. The guy davened, but he ate cholevakum. He was Shema Shabbos, I mean, there's was to reden, but he went once to a movie. But today, what's happened, the Bacha drops out and there's no Milchama. Stuck in Milchama. Stuck in Eberstein, stuck in Rebbe, stuck in Teire, stuck in... How did that happen?
You're talking about a Bacha that learned Chassidus,
Yeah.
understood, and then he dropped out? Or
Yeah.
a Bacha that was in the system and sitting in the classes and listening to all the words but not understanding anything, getting frustrated, and then afterwards dropping out?
Okay, that
Which
makes
one are you
perfect
talking about?
sense. If he never got it, he never understood it, and so he had no cheshik for it, okay, verstandig.
I'm saying the wonder is those that around the room over here that did also in the room and did not understand and stayed in. But I'm saying there are those that
I'm glad you said that.
What? I mean, how if you want to go around and start asking questions like you started in the beginning, I don't know what kind of answers you may get.
Yeah. Look, there was a meeting of Mechanchim or
And then we're the
Mashpiyim.
ones which are giving it over to the next generation.
Right. There was a meeting of Mashpiyim or Mechanchim. And it seemed like they were coming to the conclusion that we got to go back to the old-fashioned, as Brennan and Gehenna, and you're going to suffer, and you're going to... So Mendel Gordon, a Mashpia in London, he said, what are you saying? Darkei Chassidus don't work? Chassidus doesn't work, you're giving up? That's basically what they were saying. Von Lernen in Chassidus werd man nicht kein Chassid. Aha. So how do you become a Chassid?
So he said in the beginning, having a Rebbe.
Und to have a Rebbe darf man nicht ein bisschen Edelkeit. The Rebbe doesn't come with a stecken. So is Chassidus, like somebody said, how come you weren't affected by the mashpia you had over there? This mashpia is dvorim hayetzim in alev. He said, no, it's yetzim in alev, aber es ist nicht kein dvorim. So what's better? You have dvorim hayetzim in alev that are not dvorim, or you have dvorim, it's not yetzim in alev. Which one should poil better? Obviously, the dvorim should poil better. I mean, the dvarim are chassidus. The guy doesn't mean it, it's not yetzim in alev. That's his problem. But if you're hearing chassidus, it should poil. If you're not hearing chassidus, all you hear is that this guy is very sincere. So the dvarim have an effect or not? They're supposed to. So Yoni mentioned, there's a habit. You get used to certain lashonos, and that becomes your language. What's a svira? 10. It's a svira, no? Well, you don't know what a svira is? No, I don't know what a svira is. Well, there are 10 of them. You see what? I got to tell you this very funny story. Usher Zeilengold is the Rav in St. Paul. He had a lot of kiruvim from the Rebbe. In those days, and particularly him, everything. I woke up, writes to the Rebbe Zettel. This morning, I woke up. I went to sleep. Everything was reported, every detail. And he got answers. So one day we were sitting by whatever, Chassidus, and he's telling, the Rebbe told me this, the Rebbe told me this. Then he says, you know what? One time the Rebbe said to me, from now on, only good things will happen to you. And everybody in the room said, what? The Rebbe said that to you? Says, yeah. The Rebbe said to me, from now on, only good things will happen to you. And we said, when did he say this? He said, when I benched Goimel. So everybody around the room said, oh, all right. Oh, he said it in Lashon Kodesh. You see, if the Rebbe had said that in English, it's wow. Wow, the Rebbe said that to you? He said it as part of the Nusach from the Goimel. All right. Says it to everybody. So even for ourselves, you hear something in English, you say, whoa, that's in Tanya. It's from Tanya. Oh, okay. That's it. You have to bring Chassidus to America. The Chatzi Kader HaTachten. So we get stuck in the Lashonis and in the language and in the Nusach, and we forget to say it in English. A guy told me he found a program everybody should go. This program, it's unbelievable. It's so good. What's the program? It's impulse control training. And he tells me the whole thing, how they train you, impulse control, that you don't do things without first thinking. I said, yeah, like skafia. He said, that's what a skafia means? He found, somebody told him you have to have a skafia, but he said it in English. He said, wow, that's a great program. Everybody should go. So are we missing something, or even for ourselves? I think that's what we need. We need Posha to sit down and say, speak English. Let's the Zach. What's going to be when Mashiach comes? Elikus will be Begili. Say that in English. You want everybody to be excited about Mashiach. When Mashiach comes, Elikus will be Begili. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm sorry. Elikus will be Bepashtus. Aha. What does that mean? What does that mean? Everybody will see godliness. You think people know what godliness means? Do you know what godliness means? What? I spent Pesach with a hotel full of Litvisha. And all their speeches, all their talks. This is a gewaldige thing. This is even greater. This is higher. Finally, I talked to one of the guys. Higher than what? It's higher. It's was bulbous to us. What are you saying? No, that's a very high. What? What do you? He had no idea what he was talking about. Das a hecher madrege, and das a hechere madrege. What does hecher mean? No, it's more. More what? No, I think that's. So a bacha can sit and learn, and he knows the maimer, and can chazer in the maimer. He can even make you a pilpul from another maimer. But then one day he wakes up and he says, "You know what? I know all the sfiras, but I don't know what a sfira. I don't know what a sfira is." And whoever I ask doesn't know either. But Mela, I think this whole thing is pashut. You like it, you do it. You don't. Nobody knows. No?
Should we take one or two concepts?
Yep.
So maybe we'll do an exercise, take one or two concepts. Maybe if someone wants to volunteer to be brave enough to see how they would say it, and then we could sort of work through it. So if you have courage. An example we were thinking about, and I know I've spoken to a few of you about, is we're all talking about what happens when you do a mitzvah. So like as we were saying before, a cosmic light, you spiritualize the physical. Maybe if someone wants to expand, and I don't know, you want to, how they would explain according to Chassidus what happens when you do a mitzvah.
What happened? What does a mitzvah do?
Mitzvah is a connection. Mitzvah means tzavta. So Eibush is infinitely higher than anything that we could conventionally reach. When a person does a mitzvah, he's able to bridge that gap and connect to something above and beyond his norm. Like Marshall the Rebbe gives of a professor and a simple person, and the professor needs something from a simple person, all of a sudden a bond is created. That's what happens when you do a mitzvah.
What's the bond?
What is the bond? A connection, a relationship. We become meaningful to him, and he becomes more real to us. We can take part in it. We can lift ourselves out of our low state and live a higher life.
Can we say the same thing without words like lower and higher, because that's not how people speak English? Well, you come to a person and say, I want to tell you what mitzvahs are, but before I tell you, you know what higher means? Are you interested in being higher? Or do you just want to be lower? I mean, you're right, but put it into words.
Refined?
More spiritually geared. What do you want?
More spiritually geared, and that's why they walk away, because
That's why you say higher.
you want to be geared, you go do it then. I don't want to be geared.
What kind of words do you want?
Words that people are familiar with.
Example.
Money. I have to say
More
some.
money when you do the mitzvah? That's
Yeah,
basically-
that you're talking. That's how some people do it.
You need to put on tefillin. The guy was saying, maybe I'll tell him you'll get more panos and you put on tefillin.
Yeah, some people do that. Some kiruv people, professionals. Say, if you live according to Torah and Mitzvah, you'll be matzliach. You'll become a leader. Now this guy with the Sfardi has thousands of Bali Tshuva. What's his name? Yeah. Yeah. So I heard a clip from him. He's talking to a guy with tattoos all over his face with a long ponytail, and he says to him, "Come to yeshiva, you'll learn, you'll get smicha, you'll become a rov." Good. The guy said, "Yeah, I'm interested. Because I don't have a job." You're offering me a position. Good. That's a that.
I think people have a desire for meaning.
Ah. Meaning is a better word than higher. See, now we're getting somewhere. So, what kind of meaning do you get by doing mitzvahs? Your life will be more meaningful if you do mitzvahs. Really? How?
Has a purpose.
Hmm?
You matter. Life has a purpose.
You matter.
Less self-centered. You want to less self-centered. It's more something deeper, something beyond yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all true. But you see the difference. If you say it, say the first thing you come up with is it elevates you. No, elevate is not a good word. Elevate is something in a big building, you have to go to the top floor. That's not English.
To take it a step back, shouldn't the starting point, when you're talking to a Fry person and to us ourselves in Yiddishkeit, when we learn at Chassidus, should the starting point be the Eibishter? Meaning. What is meaning? Less self-centered? Okay, so you think about another person. What I think about the Eibishter. What is the Eibishter?
Meaning is self-centered. You want a meaningful life.
What is the Eibishter B'chal?
Shouldn't that be the starting point?
Okay, let's start there. You go first. You're right. What's an Eibishter? We're allowed to ask that?
I just did. I don't know if I was or wasn't.
See, you're going back to what you said, Mezindikt. That's the problem. I think if we ourselves were honest, you wake up in the morning, why? Why are you going to do what you do? Why do you say Meidani? Start from the beginning. Was sagst du Meidani? What do you want? Probably if you could answer that for yourself, you have something to say to somebody else.
Isn't there a problem if I can answer that? Isn't there a problem if I question everything I do?
Well said.
It sounds like a problem. Aber von zweiten Seite, if you don't question everything you do, what's Chabad?
Question, it's answering.
Mm-hmm.
It's explaining.
By explaining something you need to explain. Questioning doesn't mean doubting. Chas v'sholom, I'm not saying doubting. But you ask yourself, what's meideh and what's ani and what's l'fanecha? What are you saying? Why are you saying it? Not I don't want to say it. I'm not talking about rebellion.
So you're basically trying to say is, from everything, is that you're trying to say that we're not understanding what we're doing, and we're doing things with blind faith, as people may say, and instead of thinking what we're doing, we're just doing, and then also when the question comes, you're like, huh? And then when you're learning more things, you're just taking it for granted, and you're not understanding what you're saying. So you're saying we should go through everything that we do, we should start not questioning as doubting, but understanding and figuring out every single thing, why we're doing it, and what we're doing when we're doing it. That's what I understand.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds
And
good.
the question is, our parents, I don't know if I should, or let's just say parents are they're giving it over to their kids, are they also supposed to explain to them or is it supposed to be with kabbalah, like, meaning people that are here are growing up in their families, they're getting used to a certain derech of how you do certain things. Now has come to a certain time, they have to start explaining everything to other people. So it's very different.
Yeah.
Parents are not explaining to their kids, perhaps, what is Moida'ani and why do you say Birchas HaShacher, why do you do this, and what's the inyan of mikvah? We just say you have to mikvah is very important. You encourage the children, you encourage the kids to do it. You say either it's kashrus or this. You're not explaining what this accomplishes, or so is that something that people should do?
It's a good question. Is there a problem with explaining too much?
Then everything is like your own seichel, nothing, and there's nothing higher. Everything I understand, then I can do it. As soon as it has to be certain. Has to be something that you don't understand also, and you do it. Something it has to. I think.
There's a nasa and nishma part.
Right. Right. But even in the nishma parts, even if there's always nasa, there are perhaps there's certain things that's supposed to be that.
So let me ask you a silly question.
Not everything. I'm trying to say you should understand a lot of. This should be the nishma maybe is missing. We're doing a lot of nasa. The nishma part is missing to understand what we're doing. But is there something supposed to be that this I cannot understand?
Sure.
This is higher. Okay, there's supposed to be a munah. There's supposed to be something which is higher than I understand.
How many sichos are there, just from the Rebbe, explaining what Naaseh means? Naaseh v'nishma. What is there to talk about? How many sichos are there on that subject? In other words, Kabbalah sale also makes sense. It makes sense you have to have Kabbalah sale. It makes sense that you can't understand what you can't understand. But let me give you just one quick.
Why does that make sense?
Because a human being is a human being, and thus is. So it makes sense.
So explanation will make.
So explanation doesn't mean I'll give you a reason to do the mitzvah. Explanation means I'm telling you what the mitzvah is. I'm not telling you why you should do it. I'm telling you what you're doing. So the marshal, going back to the question with the child, what should a parent say? You say to a child, you have to make a bracha. That's it? You can say, you have to make a bracha because if you eat without a bracha, it's like stealing. Okay. Or you can say, make a bracha, the Eibishter is waiting to hear the bracha. You know what you just said? Those few words are so real and so true that you can write 80 Maimorim on the subject. The Eibishter is waiting to hear your bracha. So you didn't tell him why he has to make a bracha. You told him what making a bracha means. Such a child has a completely different attitude towards making a bracha. So if you say that to your child, and then one day the child says, I don't want to make a bracha. You don't want to, but the Eibishter is waiting.
Let him wait. It depends on the kind of kid. Depends on
Right.
what age, I mean.
Right. If he's that kind of kid, you're going to take him to somebody. Let him wait.
I mean, how is explaining a child waiting? I don't know.
So fine. Maybe it's not even. Maybe you shouldn't even call it explaining. It's ogeteicht. A bracha means you're saying what the Eibishter is waiting to hear. So if you're in a bad mood, that's why you shouldn't make a bracha. But the Eibishter is waiting to hear. That's a whole nother mesechta. To say to a child, I know you don't want to, but the Eibishter is waiting. That is such a chinuch. That's such a ikir in chinuch.
Could you say that for everything? Like, Don said this, someone's waiting for you to say that.
Then I'll answer back to you when I get
Yeah, then the Eibishter becomes anudnik. Oh no, what does he want now? Can he leave me alone?
Maybe she wants to put your seatbelt on.
Right. You've heard that?
Also wie reden von der Meile von Englisch ist ein bisschen kaputt, bei reden auf Jiddisch.
I'll translate.
Al Kaponim anderen Kamene Kudus. Wie steht in Tanya? In Tanya steht Reishis Avede, Ve'ikro, Ve'shorsho, ist Kabbalah Seil. So steht in Tanya Perek Bemalf. Das ist was zu tun. Das ist Reishis Avede, Ve'ikro, Ve'shorsho. Es ist nicht Kol Avede. Steht nicht, dass Kol Avede ist Kabbalah Seil. Aber es ist Reishis Avede, this is where you begin. Wann hebt man an? Das steht in Tanya. Reishis Avede, wann hebt man an? Es Reishis Avede, und es bleibt tegen Aikra, und das ist Sherish Avede, which, I don't know what it means, Sherish Avede, aber Kopanim. Reishis Avede. Wie Ikra, bleibt tegen wie Ikra, das Kabbalah Seil. Und das ist was zu tun. Und im Metzies von Aiden ist der alte Rebbe teitscht auf in Perik Beis in Tanya. Also der Scham ist Chelik Alakam Mal Mamish. Aiden verbunden mit Göttlichkeit, mit whatever Biurim Pratim zu da drauf. Und in was das drückt sich echt aus im Per Mamish von Aiden, in das in Perik Yutches und Perik Yutes, das ist Munne. Und die Munne drückt sich aus bei jeder Jeden. Es haben Zies. Der alte Rebbe führt aus, der Pfarrer ist Alurev, Meister im Nafsham al Kiddush Hashem, Afal Pisha Einem Evinim. Das redet sich nicht wegen Aid, was ist verkocht in Jüdischkeit, und er sagt Meister Nefesh. Und viel als was nicht verkocht in Jüdischkeit. Danach ist der alte Rebbe im Perik Choftes, zum Sof sagt als viel der schreit, dass glaubt nicht. Und deswegen, das was sagt, dass glaubt nicht, steht das mit Zeit der Nefesh Abamis. Es ist nicht, weil sein Neshama glaubt nicht. Behoraye. Sagt der alte Rebbe, der zählt am meisten, was gewinnt mit dem Ragel. Dem Ragel haben gesagt, als einer Minim Bicheles Hashem, so kevish sein, Lamedalef Belochim. Und danach mit Amol, als Beisher Rebbe hat sie angeschrien, bei mir, bei Azei Yipru, bei Grechem, mit alle Praten, sei mit Amol, aber sie haben gegeben, was ist da geschehen mit Amol? Lehere Lohem Shum, Eisum, Meifsim, er hat sich Bechir gewinnt, an der Rebbe, kein kevish sein, Lamedalef Belochim, sie haben nicht geglaubt. Was ist mit Amol geschehen? Was haben sie mit Amol gesagt? Hinnen und Wollinu. Ist der alte Rebbe Masber, weil das, was nicht geglaubt ist, nicht sie haben nicht geglaubt. Das ist der Nefesh Abamis hat Meilem und Master gewählt. Und beschassen, mit haben sie angeschrien, haben Vatisch gewählt, mit Nefesh Abamis, und sie allein glauben. Haben sie gesagt, Hinnen und Wollinu. Im Ende sagt Kopanim, dass der Beziehung von Aiden ist verbunden mit Göttlichkeit, das drückt sich aus in der Tnue von Messias Nefesh, und nach vieler Sachen, was sagt, dass glaubt nicht, ist ein Atheist, ein Agnostik, sie kann jetzt aber sagen, ist der alte Rebbe sagt, dass hebt sich nicht auf, weil mit ein bisschen Tapt und Tiefer, hat man sehen, dass hinnen und wollen, also ist ja meimen. Ich sage Kopanim, das ist die Beziehung von der Jiden, und das ist Reishis Avede Vikr V'Shosh. Und also, wenn man kommt, wie gesagt früher, es ist Reishis Avede Vikr, aber es ist nicht Kol Avede. Kol Avede darf ist der noch, ist in Klolos kann man sagen, als Chassidus ist öfter ausgestellt, die Klolos sind zwei Efam. Das meint zu sagen. Man kann das abteitschen, bei von Klolos ist da Yehudi Law, und es ist da Yehudi Tato. Es ist der größte Chassidus, was im Masber, wie es in der Stock in Welt im Bottle, wie alles sagt, dass Hashem mit Haribui, Biurim und Pratim, und die ganze Beziehung ist im Bottle zu Göttlichkeit. Das ist eine größte Welt für Chassidus, das ist eine Welt für die Yatzmei. Was im Masber, was ist gar nicht da, einmal warte, mit allen Pratim, was da drauf. Und bei Meile, geht die Zahme sehr, wenn ein Jid geht zu Avede Pratis, Über Meile ist Bottle, das Kaffee und kama in Janem Avede beklose, es wird nicht steif, von drauf als eine Stocke Welt. Über Meile ist Bottle. Das ist ein Eifen. Der andere ist da, ein zweiter Eifen der Chassidus, was ist Masber, was ist a Mitzvah, was ist a Yid, was a Yid, jeder Prat, was tut, was ist der Gehe, was tut sich auf der Lernen Teire, was tut sich auf der Lernen, wenn Mekayim a Mitzvah, Shabbos, Yom Tovim, wo Chayetze beze, und das ist, in der Ruf ist sicher, da kann man sagen, was sie bittel, aber beklolles hat Dvorim, ist Chassidus verkehrt, Masbir der Nekude, was a Yid, durch Teire und Mitzvahs, kriegt a Scheiche zur Göttlichkeit. So da der Bittel, der Einei, als a Yid ist, kommen zu Jussi sein, Seder Avede ist, was nicht da, und das kann man weglegen in klosdike Wörter, Yichudi Lo. Und nachher ist da, Yichudi Tato, was beklollos wie sei, verbindet sich mit nichts, sein Metzies ist, was nicht da, durch eine Mitzvah wird verbunden mit Nebersten, jeder Mitzvah soll sein in ihm Proti, Yom Tevi wird das verbunden mit Nebersten, Shabbos ist verbunden mit Nebersten, wo kann jetzt immer so. Und in Bemeile ist, Beloshe steht in Kuntzeit Zachaim. Iker Avede Hashem ist Yichudi Tato. Yichudi Lo, in das Lav Kol Meche, so will da, zu halten bei Yichudi Lo. Aber steht dort, Leis, Minoyitim, darf echt sein, Ha'ores Yichudi Lo. Darf lernen echt wissen, dass sie da Hecher Avede. Und Leis, Minoyitim, in Protim, ist da, aber in a Post Mittwoch besorgt, in Chai Yem is zu leben mit Yichudi Loi is lav komoiche soveldo. Aber der Naldem ist da, wenn Abteitschen der Teichen und Verbund von Teire, von Mitzvahs, von Ayid, von Achossid, das ist echt dieselbe Sache. Und in Iskarshas, der Mond in Umfang, aber was ist das, sie zu sein Achossid darf man erheben, sie am Isachossid nimmt man erheben. Es ist da zwei Tage, sie wendet sich. Es ist Yesh Kaze wie Yesh Kaze. Auf zu sein Achossid darf man erheben. Ohne erheben kann man nicht sein Achossid. Und wenn Yid halber hechere Darge, in die ganze Beziehung von Achossid, die Kolkuli zu dem Rem, nicht Beziehung bei Fniatzmi. A Kopf führt da mit dem Guf. Und Sof Kol Sof ist Yid tracht ein bisschen stärker, wie das der Mensch, die Fuß, die Kopf. Das ist der Mensch. Nicht setzt sich mechanisch für den Fuß. Sie denken darauf, die Kopf nimmt den Fuß, wo der Fuß will gehen. Aber wenn tracht ein bisschen tiefer, wie der Mensch, die Mensch ist ein paar Fies und hat einen ganzen Kopf zu umführen mit der Fuß. Bis damals kapiert ein bisschen. Aber sie denken darauf, Darges. Ist, bechol leven in jeder Indien, was der Teich echt, man lernt Chassidus. So da Welt Chassidus, als Masbir, was Teire ist, was Mitzvus ist, und kam von ihm. Und das ist eine Sache, was kann abgeteilt werden. Es kann abgeteilt werden in Chai Yem, der Schuss, was ist Ayid, der Schuss von der Mitzvah, der Schuss von Teire, und sie denken darauf a Gewalt. Und es ist, und Chassidus, da da echt Yichudi Lo, was ist, nicht da. Und darf es wissen, echt. Darf wissen, dass da eine ganze Welt von Chassidus, was Masbir an nie leine vreisi, alle Shabbos keine. Aber sie da echt, als nie vreisi, le Shabbos keine sicher beziehs. Als ganze beziehs, was nie vreisi ist, sie bosse, mit sie ist le Shabbos keine. Und sie da in drauf, sie da beide fallen. Und auch Kopanem Amiret nennt zu sich und echt, am Zeitstopp echt zu zweiten. In echt mehrere Kopanem, wie gesagt, der Yichudi Tato. Und echt, zu Abteitschen echt, am Zeitstopp, was a Mitzvah ist, was a Yid ist da in der Feiche, es ist eine ganze Welt. Es ist nicht, dass Poshet, es ist eine ganze Eilum und Leie, was für man lernt mit a Yiden zugeht, dass sie da in Sof, aber Meile ist lief der Zimtzum, ist die ganze Welt Bottle. Aber es ist da Acher Zimtzum echt. Was da Acher Zimtzum echt, kommt dann ein ganz größer Gila Lakus, Teiro Mitzvah, sie kommen echt Acher Zimtzum. Auch das ist Way from Cloley in a nutshell.
And this you couldn't say in English.
De letzte Wörter.
Reingegabt.
Is der Reiches Aveda, the Yira, is the Kabbalah Sale, is far ganz Chassidus?
Es ist verwassen, es fahrt ganz Chassidus. Das steht in Pedro von Malef in Tanja.
Ja, verstehe, aber die zwei Gedorim Chassidus, was sie sagt, Magdir, die Chud Tator und die Chud Eilah. Der Iker darf man tun in der Meile von Ayid und in der Meile von Mitzvahs und in der Meile von der Shabbos und der Yom. Aber Freya, Farde mit der Iker ist Pashutan, weil man heißt.
Yes, die Sod ist da, weil man heißt, wie hin Hashem nicht so will auf.
Und er sieht, der Aveda von Ayid mit sich und mit anderen.
Yes, that's what I think.
As you're going to attract the Yid to Yiddishkeit by telling him as Medarf al Eberste heißt.
Yes.
This is used on the Etzem and Hashem, was it must be.
Yes.
Okay.
Aber interessant,
Das ist der, wie man darf mit Karve sein andere Echet. Man geht es eben zu sagen, mit Filmen, besonders sagen,
Darf ich sagen, Reiches Aveda wie Kribbe Shorsha.
okay, so.
Ich darf sagen, es ist da Mitzvah Drebestück geheißen. Leider der Balabos, der geheißen darf, mir hat das, whatever. So tolle Mitzvah.
I think regarding the first Madrega, the first Indian of Parik Lamalov, it's also a full Aveda. It's not up as Kabbalah Sale doesn't mean it's Sanash Mulumada. It means that I decided to serve the Eibush there. So
Ja, Kabbalah Sale ist der Elam Israel zu teitschen, Kabbalah Sale mit tut Sachen, was klappt nicht. Kabbalah Sale hat aber noch ein paar Wörter. Kabbalah Sale, Malchus, Shamayim.
oh, that one.
This is a short word, sagt man Kabbalah Sale. Aber der Rinker ist es, Kabbalah El, Malchus, Shamayim. Nicht weil kennt ton.
from the people that I know, most of us are not Yechudi Tatar or Yechudi Law. We're the first Madrega. When Madrega being Mekabel El Malchus Shamayim, Yechudi Tatar and Yechudi Law is an abyssal hecher.
It's a hecher
More meaningful.
So like after we can have this Mara sein a bisschen mehr. Wie zu Areisken von Madrega von Sanash Mulumada, oder von Prika Sel und eigentlich the Haskalas Aveda is nicht Yechudi Tatar. Es ist eine Gräse, das ist noch was mit Mekabel El Malchus Shamayim gibt, dann Yechudi Tatar und dann Yechudi Law. Aber der Reishes Aveda kann nehmen 40 Jahre.
Es geht nicht. Es geht nicht Punkt davon, es ist Reiches Aveda für Ikra. Und da drauf echt, das Sachbadreg ist, wird es gemacht sehr schnell. Aber in Wörter ist very fast. Aber Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim darf trachten, als da Malchus Shamayim. Als da Shamayim, Malchus Shamayim. Und dann im Kabel El Malchus Shamayim. Darf trachten, als da Gott auf der Welt.
What I'm saying is like this.
Und wie hin Hashem nicht so love, it's real. Es ist nicht so love. Und Mabitel der Rebbe gerät zu Kindern von Public School als ein Moment of Silence. Und sie sollen trachten, dass sie da einreihen, wesische Maß. Und der Rebbe gesagt, als beschaß wie will Pelm bei Kind, aber Kind von Public School, als sie soll nicht gammeln und gazeln, vchulu, beschaß mit sie sagen, dass da Policeman trachten, kann nicht beklingt den Policeman. Aber beschaß wie du sagst, dass du da ein Reh wesentliche Maß, das wird davon Peil. Das ist der Rebbe gerät zu Kindern in Public School.
What I'm trying to bring out is that the common denominator between all three of these madregas is that each one of these three ways of serving the Eibush is that in each one of these three madregas, B'shas the Yid is there. The Yid in Grav English has a life. You could see he's living with something. He wakes up in the morning, whether he's doing it because Anila Nivresi Elo or Anila Nivresi Lashamish or the first Madrega, the Metzias is that he knows exactly what he's doing. We'll keep it to the first Madrega. And L'Cha'era, when he was mentioning before, I think Shmuel mentioned before about how our earlier generations, how they were kind of getting to Chassidus, and the Pashtus, that you see someone living with something, it sticks. It's not exactly what the words are you're going to use. If you see. If I come to someone and I start giving him a drasha, but I'm not there, it's not going to be Mekadev and Chassidus. If I live with Chassidus, I don't think that Nissen was a great orator necessarily, but I know from my own family, I have family members that he came Lubavitch because they saw him daven. So I'm saying I think it's more about
let's forget about the hafata for a second and try to figure out, at least personally, how is it possible to be living with that nekuda versus just mitzvah nashim l'umada and calling it kabbalah sale.
Hafata doesn't mean making up stories. Hafata means avas Yisrael, that whatever you have, you're sharing. So you're right, you can't separate these two things. It's not like this we say for Hafata purposes and then we whisper to each other the real truth. This is for export and this is for You're right. If you're alive, people want to hear what you have to say. But Shalom is telling us what we have to say. We got to find a way to say it. How do you say all of that in simple English? But it's interesting that even in Tanya, which was written for people was Zuchan and Aveda and so on and so forth, the Ike v'Sherish Aveda comes in Perek Mem Aleph. Took 40 prakim to get to that. You said 40 years. Took 40 prakim. So what does it say in those 40 prakim that you have to know before you can even find out what Ike v'Sherish Aveda is? But this is it. This is what we have to tell the world. Hafatzas Hamayonis doesn't mean tell them something. It means tell them what Chassidus is. The Mayon itself. So Chassidus is, in simple English, higher unity and lower unity. That's what you have to tell people. But you got to say it in English. I just said it in French. So let me give you an example. Higher unity and lower unity. Yeah. You say to a person, let me ask you a question. How much of knowledge, of truth, are human beings aware of? What would you say? 50%? 10%? 1%? How much do we know and how much don't we know? Any intelligent person will tell you that what we know is a tiny amount of what we don't know. Most of truth, most of reality, we don't know. That's Yehudi law. The Vesnish, you'll never understand, you'll never get there. There's an emes that is much, much bigger than us. B'meile, schweigen tu was mit darf. It's not about you. That's like getting past yourself. It's not about you. Why? Because it's bli gvul. It's bigger and higher and von zweiten Seite. There's also the appreciation. You have to be a shtickl mensch to appreciate that there's something much greater than you. Because a behemoth, a klotz, is not interested and doesn't appreciate it. If I don't know, who cares? So there's the keli that has to be refined. You have to develop an appreciation so that you're a mensch, not a behemoth. And then you will realize that being a mensch is a tiny drop of what there is in reality. So Yehudi law and Yehudi Tata means, are you approaching Yiddishkeit on the basis that, what do I know? There's a big emes. Yidden have always believed this. This is the way it's done. Who am I to say my opinion, right? That's bittul elamis. Von zweiten Seite, you have to be a mensch. You were given seichel, you have to use your seichel.
So
it isn't. It is that is Kabbalah sale. When you realize there's more, there's so much more you don't know than you do know, that's Kabbalah sale. In other words, if you do what you're told to do because of how much you don't know, that's Kabbalah Sel. If you do what you're doing, the mitzvah, whatever it is, because of what you do know, that's Yichud Tata. That's the Edelkeit of the Keli. So in Chinuch l'mashal, you got to do both. You can't give the child the impression as a Vesalz, and on the other hand, you can't give him the impression that he doesn't count. Schweigen tu es mit mehizdir. That's not Kabbalah Sel. Kabbalah Sel doesn't mean you're not important. Kabbalah Sel means there's something much more important than you. But even Kabbalah Sel has to be al derech Chassidus. You have to be masbir what Kabbalah Sel is and what the mile of it is. Otherwise, it's not Chabad and it's Musa.
Is there a difference in Kabbalah Sel and Chiliyah?
Yeah, but that's a pilpul. Let's try something over here. How do you explain in English? What does it mean, dire betachteinem? God wants a dwelling place in the lower world. That's true. What does it mean? How do you explain it to yourself? I mean, you can't get away from this. Everything we do is because of a dira b'tachteinu. What does it mean? I mean, somebody would ask it, God wants a dwelling place in the lower world? What, he's not here? He's everywhere. No, he's everywhere, but he wants a dira. Oh. He wants a place of his own. The whole world is his own. What's his problem? In other words, what is it? What's the world going to be when it becomes a dira b'tachteinu that you're so excited about, and that you devoted your whole life to make sure that that happens? What exactly are you trying to do? Make a dira b'tachteinu? So the first thing is you have to make sure that you're in tachtenim. Because otherwise, I mean, the whole plan is not going to work. And then maybe you can make a dir over there.
They're struggling with that.
Huh?
I don't think they're struggling with that.
Not struggling. So don't push it.
Doing fine.
Like somebody said, the first step in tshuva is to do an aveda. Otherwise, when so what's a dir b'tachteinu? I'm just using it as an example. I'm not testing you. How do you say it in words that the average person can not only hear it, but can say, yeah, I want that too? And they'll be used the expression be'efen hamiskabel. Be'efen hamiskabel means not that you explain it and explain it and explain it, and the person says, all right, fine. That's not Eifn HaMiskabel. Eifn HaMiskabel means once they hear it, they'll say, yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want. It's not a chiddush. That's called Eifn HaMiskabel. L'moshel, Mashiach. We want Mashiach. What do you mean you want Mashiach? In simple language, the world the way it is now is not acceptable. Who doesn't agree with that? It's got to be better than this. Well, right, that's what I say. Okay, so who's going to make it better? Mashiach. All right, now we're talking the same language. It's not like, oh, you convinced me. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. It's miskabel. So what is dira b'tachtenim? So just an example. I'm not sure that this is the only way to explain it, but dira b'tachtenim means basically like this. In a dira, a person can be himself. The Eibishter wants a place in which he can be himself. The Eibishter is having a problem being himself. He's got issues. He can't really express himself. He needs a secure place where he feels, has he got psychiatric problems? It's been 5,771 years, and the Eibishter has never yet had a dira b'tachtenim, which means he hasn't been himself yet. True? It must be true. If a dira means a place where he can be himself, and the dira b'tachtenim is not yet finished, so he hasn't been himself all these years. No, Arachmanas af an Eibishter or not? The guest of Rachmanis. What hasn't he been? What does it mean he's not himself? I asked these guys in the hotel. They sing Anim Zmiris, after every davening. Mit koch mit bren, and they sing Nafshi Chamdo v'tzel yodecha lo das kol ros seidecha. I said, so what are you doing about that? Will wissen kol ros seidecha. First of all, what kind of secrets does the Eibishter have? And was möchte sich, was kriegst du dort? It's a secret. What is the Eibishter's secret? The Eibishter's secret is that ad hayem hazeh, the Eibishter's ahava to Yidden has never really been expressed. I know we have a whole list of dayenus, ilu kervanu l'fnei har Sinai v'olnei mosan lanu es ha'Torah, dayenu. But it's gar nicht. It's nicht das. He took us out of Mitzrayim, he gave us Matan Torah, Kriyas Yamsuf, alle gute Sachen. It's not, he has not expressed his ahava. I mean, even that, Kervanu l'fnei har Sinai, v'le'nosan lanu es ha'Torah. What does that mean? If he brought us to Har Sinai and didn't give us the Torah, what kind of dayenu is that? I think the pshat is, Kervanu. He was mekarev us, not to a mountain. He was mekarev us to him, and it happened in front of the mountain. Not, wow, you brought us to a mountain. What more can we ask? The kiruv that the Eibishter has shown by taking us out of Mitzrayim, by promising Avraham, bris ben Absadim, all these things, it's just the beginning. It has not expressed the Eibishter's Ava to Yidden. And he can't express it until the world becomes a Keli. Because to express his Ava completely means that the Goyim see and understand the Eibishter's Ava to Yidden. That is the Tachlis Kavanah of Brias HaOlam. But that's a secret. That's Roz Seidecha. It's a secret meaning it's deep and it has not yet been expressed. So what's a Dira B'Tachtenim? A Dira B'Tachtenim means where the Eibishter can be himself. What do you mean be himself? Can express his Ava. Why can't he express his Ava now? I tried this. I said to a group of people, The whole kavana is that after Mashiach comes, the Eibishter will show the incredible ava that he has for Yidden. And this Jewish girl says, what, and Goyim not? Okay, fine. You see, that's why. That's why he can't. It's like if a man says to a woman, I love you very much, and the woman says, and my cousin? So, you know what, forget it. I can't talk to you. You're not ready. Why happens you love me? Okay, forget it. So going back to the original thing, what does it mean when you do a mitzvah, you get connected? What's connected? You get higher. Higher in what? You find more meaning. What's meaningful? The whole point of an Eibishter who created a world which is different from evolution is that evolution doesn't love you, doesn't need you. An Eibishter means an Eibishter who created you because of you, because he wants you. Like the Taich Ava Atzmis. Ava Atzmis means I just want you to be. Your etzem mitzias, that's iminegeya. That's called Ava Atzmis. I don't love you for your chachma, for your gutzkeit, for your... You just have to be. It's a mirnegeya that you should be. That's called Ava Atzmis. And this has not yet been expressed or shown or revealed to the world. So what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? The world will see the Ava that the Eibishter has for Yidden, and they're going to want to participate. That's it. And then there'll be Shalom Al Yisrael. And there'll be no further Golus because there's no room for doubt anymore. Or says a Goy should rule over Yidden. It's out of the question.
That's what we spend our whole life working towards. What if life is not so bad the way it is now?
Another person said, so this is that's the point, Estes. The Eibishter is basically trying to show how much he loves us. And this is how he shows it? Okay, that's your explanation for a Holocaust? Yeah, it's because he loves us so much that he can't even express it. You know, there are certain things what Eitcha Hashem ki anafta bi has not yet happened. So how do you... Huh?
Why is it more tangible to say the Ava of the Eibishter than to say Ein Sof and the cosmic light? Why is saying Ava of the Eibishter? That's also gobbledygook. It's also luftig.
Well, first of all, everybody understands what Ava means. Ein Sof?
Ava of the Eibishter.
Yeah. Ava is Ava.
If the only reason why Ava of the Eibishter is known as Chabad because the world and the society has adapted a mode of God and love of God, which comes directly from Christianity, why would you put these words to touch a person more directly than Ein Sof and more spiritual things, which there are much more connected to a Jewish soul? When you talk to a Yid has such faculty, divinity, which other people don't have. You have and when you talk to someone about divinity and spirituality and God himself, you feel like embarrassed and luftig. But if you talk about love of God, which Americans have all over their cars, this you think you will connect more to a Jew? This is the agenda you have when you meet someone, and even more so if we speak between ourselves.
First of all, it's not just America. The French also are hung up on love. the contradiction of dira b'tachtenim. Nisava HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what? Dira b'tachtenim. So you're right. On the one hand, you want to introduce elokus, godliness, something about God. On the other hand, you have to introduce something about him. What about him? His taiva. The ultimate explanation for Tachlis Briyas Ha'olam. Why? Because Nesava HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that is a dir b'tachtenim. Yeah, you're bringing it down to something that a human being can attach himself to. But the Ava, Christianity, that's a whole different... in Christianity, it's not that God loves. It's that love is God. That's a completely different... But the Eibishter's Ava and Ava's Hashem, that's certainly not Christians. So two things. First of all, when you say Ava, a person understands what you're talking about. Secondly, he wants it. It's like we're saying, it's appealing. I forgot to mention that.
So it's what's in it for them?
Huh?
So we're telling them what's in it for them?
To some degree, I mean, if you want to put it in grubber language, dira b'tachtonim means it's for me. It's good for me. It belongs to me. It's part of me. But that's tachten. If you separate the elyenim and the tachtenim, then you're going back to before Matan Torah. So here's the edelkeit. What is the elokus shebedavar? You have ahava that is regular ahava. Your mother loves you. Used to love you. A person with a little more edelkeit appreciates an ava from the Eibishter more than the ava from a mother. The Eibishter's ava, that already is talking to the Nefesh Elikis. For that you have to have a little edelkeit. But just like people walk around tortured, tzahargit, because God hates me, because God makes Holocaust, because God is cruel, that means that by them the Eibishter is very real. In a sense, that's a dir b'tachtenim. But it's a very negative. If the Eibishter is real enough that you should be angry at him, then there's something edel about that. That's emunah. If you come and say you're making a mistake, the Eibishter is not angry at you and he doesn't hate you and he's not punishing you. Adarab. He loves you and he wants to bring Mashiach so that he can be Megala to the whole world how much he loves you. That makes the Eibishter real. It doesn't make Ava real. Ava is Ava. But if the Eibishter's Ava means something to you, just like the Eibishter's anger means something to you, was in Montreal a month ago. There was a tragedy that happened in Morocco, where a couple were killed in a bomb. And the woman was from Montreal. So the whole Moroccan community in Montreal was devastated. So they asked me to come speak to them. And it turns out they weren't so devastated because of what happened. They were devastated because their Rabbonim were telling them that it's their fault. Because they talk Lashon Hara, that's why it happened. And they believe it. They're maminim. The Rav said that these people were killed because we talk Lashon Hara. And that was so painful and a guilt trip and a burden. So people relate to the Eibishter for real. To relate to the Eibishter for real means what? You know him, you love him, you hate him. There has to be something, a midah. So when you say get closer to the Eibishter, what do you mean closer? You're standing next to him. What's closer? What does it mean closer to a human, to another person? What's a close friend? Say it in English. What's closer? I understand you better now. Oh, that's closer. Okay, so that's Chabad. Or, I love you more than before. Okay, so that's Chagas. Or, I'm more willing to do for you. So that's Nehim. But say something. Don't just say close.
Is close the ultimate, or to become one is the ultimate?
Okay. If you want to start up with that, how do you become one? What does it mean? How do you become? Have you ever become one with anything? It's a totally foreign concept. You know what you need? You need to become one with God. I don't need to become one with anything. I've never become one. So you're talking a foreign language. I need to become one. My psychiatrist never told me that. I need a lot of things. I never knew I needed to become one. Because what are you saying? Once you explain it, it's exactly what everyone wants.
Once you explain this concept of Eibishter loves you and you have a relationship and all these things, so Reb Shalom said before that every yid is a chelik out, and every person, every yid has an neshama in them which automatically wants to gravitate to the Eibishter. And you know, so even if he is not fully in tune to what's going on, but we have to trust that somewhere up there, someone's getting a picture of what the Eibishter is. Is there something more than that, or is that for talking to somebody else, and also talking to ourselves? Is that the beginning and the end, or is that the beginning and something else, or the fact that the Eibishter exists, we're not really in tune with it but the top two levels of our neshama are pretty much get a picture of what's going on, and we have to trust that we're a chelik of Kamal, and the Eibishter loves us, we love the Eibishter, and let's go from there. Now the rest is Kabbalah. Should there be something more? First of all with somebody else, and second of all with ourselves.
Didn't get the question.
What exactly are you asking?
I'm asking if the Eibishter, the Shalom said before that the Eibishter is okay. We know that, and then Perek Malach talks about this Kabbalah El Malach Shemayim. So we have to get to work. We have to do what the Eibishter wants. At any point, should we revisit, or not revisit, but visit, on our logical in our world, the Eibishter, and should we visit it ourselves, and should we tell other people about it, or the fact that they have a chelik kamal is sufficient?
You're basically asking, is makifim enough or you have to have pnimis?
Is it a problem if I don't have it? Should I go there? Should I even go in that direction?
You think he has a problem? You think he has a problem? He wants to know if he has a problem.
That's the question.
If the person would be one of the if a person would be only have part of him that relates to makifim, then it's enough. Aber hat sich Chalake was einem Pnimim, is nimmt nicht das durch, ist dort nicht gekommen. Einer von den Jahren.
In other words, if you're very stupid, then the makif is enough. If you don't have a brain, then all you need is the makif.
So if you have a brain, then you should look in those areas.
Then the brain has to be filled with godliness. The way a brain is filled, not makifim. So that's why an ish pashut, by him makifim is enough. Because he's really an ish pashut. Once you stop being an ish pashut, then if you're going to be a chacham, then you got to be the right kind of chacham.
How do you bring together the union of Avos Hashem and Mashiach will come, and the idea of Ein Mulvade? So how do you connect the two together?
What's the
No, I'm saying this. I'm saying the union of Avos Hashem, like for example, the idea of his brilliance of Avos Kaman, so that's one target. Let's say Mashiach will come, will be begin with that idea of the real Avos Hashem to the Yid. But again, how do you take out the mitzius of the Yid? You know, when you say that Bish Baruch Hu loves the Yid, how do you take out the mitzius of the Yid from there? Saying, how do you explain that? Just the explanation is there.
The husband of Chassidus is the ava that the Eibishter has to us is not because of us; it's because of him.
That makes sense.
Hmm?
So that will bring out
The bittul.
So when Mashiach will come, that will be the gili that it's out the Meibishter. So the Avos Hashem to the Yid is the Emes the Eibishter, not the Yid.
Let's say a few words. Beklolus in dir betachtenim, dine kude was mit angerührt, ist da Belasche Verrebs da Chitzenis Adira und Pnimis Adira. Ist da Pnimis Adira und ist da Chitzenis Adira. Pnimis Adira was gerät Lodor Velishke und der Shamas Yisrael, the connection von Ayiden mit Göttlichkeit und einer von den Fanem is Avos HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, der alte Rebbe Masber in Tanyen, Perik mit Menschen, mit Wov, mit Zayin, mit Keraftan, mit die alle Sachen. Und das ist alles in dem Heilig, was belangt zu der Verbund von jedem mit Nebersten, weil das ist Pnimis Hadira. So, aber da echt, und wie gesagt, echt was der Teich hat dort ist Göttlichkeit, Komöische Hu, nicht wer passt sich zu Welt. Und das ist die Beziehung von Adira. In Adira, auch Kopal bepasst, das ist ein Mensch gefindet sich wie er fühlt sich bequem wie ist, nicht passt sich zu etwas. Das ist aber dann geht zu jedem. So, aber doch, es ist Adira, Loder will ich kein Eichet in Welt, Dire betachtenim, mein Eichet ist Keilel Eichet, die ganze Welt, nicht nur jeden. Ist Eichet Keilel, als es da, an Dire betachtenim. Der Rebbe steht bei Schaffen Welt, was Soram Amoris Nivra Elam, ist qua Jochel, der Rebbe steht sich zugepasst, wie sagt man, dem Einfall bei Mitzvah, kein Marti Elam, Chesed die Bonne, ist Welt, ist verbunden mit Midas. Midas sein Beschwil Azulis, Kaviyochel der Rebbe passt sich zu Welt. Und wir reden noch Malchus, Beschwil, Imel, Bleyam, Azulis. Das ist, wie der Rebbe Akoponim ist, hat der Scheiches zur Welt, im Eifen von Kaviyochel, wie passt sich zu Welt. Und in der Ruf ist sicher, da kann man Darges, da Midas, da, wie man sagt, im Eimer, sagt, man kann alle wer hebt dann in Yitzchayim, Gechofetz Chesed, is a gorin hege madreges oder a viele wie mir das in in Kecha Atzmus, Hule Vade Bekeche Vicholte, Livre Yesh Miyayin, I das Sechet, Keche Vicholte, Livre Yesh Miyayin, es ist Hule Vade, aber es als auch Kopanim, wie beschafft wird. Der Nordem ist da, wie steht, wenn geht zu Teru Mitzvahs ist, Alpaim schon noch kommt mit Teru Leilam, das ist Chochmossei, oder 10 Nation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Es ist nicht wie passt sich zu Quayochel zur Welt, das ist Teru Mitzvahs, Chochmossei, oder 10 Nation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Und das ist also in ganz Teru Mitzvahs, und echt kann man darges Chochmossei, oder 10 ist, bis 10 Atzmi, bis was Teru Mitzvahs ist, auch upon ihm, als wie das ist Batzmussi. Die betachteine mit der Teich, Lakelerisch, als sie da im Welt Teru Mitzvahs, das ist die erste Sache. Teru Mitzvahs, das ist Chochmossei, Ure Zeine, ist da in der Gashmische Welt, ist da Teru Mitzvahs. Und wir meinen, das Connect zeigt mit Einheit. Einheit mal war der Teich nicht, qua Jochen, wo der Eberster geht und ist, man hava Welt, passt sich zu und geht an Nord Welt. Teru Mitzvahs ist das Chochmossei, Ure Zeine, was ist Hecher von Welt, wo dort in nicht Stefes Mokken Welt, und wir meinen, ist in Welt, herzig, Ebs a Sach, was sie Hecher von Welt, herzig, Einheit. Und dann auch mit der Quetsch ist, als es die Betachteine, als das wird der Härte Tachteine, mit Zattachteine, eine Kuda Klol ist, meint das, als der Ihnen nicht etwas sagt, was die Welt schlägt sich mit dem, die Welt rejected, oder verkehrt. Es ist die Welt, das Makabel nicht gucken, was die Welt sucht hier mit sie, es wird es ein Dover Apostel in der Welt, und es wird die Beziehung zur Welt, all der versteht, lasst Love, als sie sein, als Teine wird sagen, Shabbos Hayem. Die Welt hat schreien, als es darf sein Teru Mitzvahs, das heißt, es sich oplingen, bepasst das die Welt, das schreit, das ist wie die Beziehung von Welt schreit heint. So da sagt, das ist acceptable in Welt, da sagt, was Welt schreit, das ist nicht, ist die Beziehung so, AVP, als die Beziehung von Teru Mitzvahs, die ganze Sache, das ist Luch Ure, Welt, das ist Chochmossei, Rezei, bis Rezei, Atzmi, Vachulu. Und deswegen wird es werden, ein Dover Apostel, das Welt, wird es schreien, das ist kein Goradisches sein. Aber das ist Rezei, ist Adire, danach ist Pnimis Adire, in Lodder, Willischkeit, mit dem Shabbos Israel, als jeden sei verbunden mit Nebersten, und die Welt ist auf der Maske. So da, Laje Kol Elam, Laje Eisa Kol Elam, Elul Das Hashem Bilvat, und das Zeichen sein lassen, glaube ich. Und dann mit alle Fikach, Yisroel, Chacham, Gdele, wie jeder da machst du. So da wird das in der Welt, und dann bei der geht zu jedem.
Wie ein Konzern ist der Primus.
Wo ist das, wenn ich gezeichnet ist, Primus? Kol ze Gufe. An die ganze Welt so werden Adire. Und dort ist es auch Hauptlänge. Das Salz ist Sofkosov Bishvil Yisroel. Kavane Pnim ist von der Rufi Seite jeden. Vielleicht 2 Levels in der Dire, 2 Pfanne. Und nicht jeden sein Alderach, wo hoch und goyim lairach. Als Welt, jeden sein Bishvil verkehrt. Die Kude Pnim ist Sofkosov Seite jeden. Das ist die Kude Pnim ist. Und die ganze Welt ist auf Kosovo, ist es ein Platz, also sein Muchscher, das Gufe, also sich Achtus Hashem in Welt, die Welt so werden da Keil zu termit, das alles, ist auf Kosovo, der Pnimis da Kavane davon ist, und der Rebisch soll sein verbunden mit ihm.
Das ist der ganze Ding von Birur Oilam.
Yes.
Birur Oilam bringt zu der Abend, was der Eberste Thomas Zini.
Birur Oilam bringt, dass der Eberste soll sein verbunden mit jedem. Aber ist einer von den Fallen. Er gesagt früher, der Moschel von Mitzvahs, ist, sagt dann, da kam ein Biure. Einer von den Biure ist aber. Einer von den Fallen. Der Verbund von jedem mit der Ebersten. Durch Teru Mitzvahs, durch Bechlal Shamas. Einer von den Fallen ist, einer von den Fallen Connections ist aber. Batitulon, Hashem Lekein, zurückgegeben, der alte Rebbe Teitschen Tagi.
And going back to your question, the word love is also not the whole story. Like you're saying, the connection between the Eibishter and Yidden is something even more than love. Bechira, ata bechartanu, is more than love. More than the love of a father to a child. But we don't have any other word to
You mentioned before that.
another way to say it is the Eibush, there's a hang up on Yidden. Is that better? The connection is something which ayin lo so l'kim zulasacha. But it's between the Eibush and Yidden. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. Let's get a little bit practical. What we need is to start thinking in tangible mamoshisdika language, so that we understand what we're saying for ourselves, and that it makes sense when we say it to somebody else. What are the few things that we had?
7 things.
7 things?
7
About?
things about the Eibusher, 7 things about Torah, 7 things about mitzvah, 7 things about it.
So let's go through that. You have the list? The Ben Chacham is by Chassidim Nishkin Chacham. The real Ben is the Tam, because the Tam asks Ma zeis. That's not an ignorant question. That is the best question. It's the klotz kasha. The Chacham says, "Ma edus chukim mishpatim." The Tam says to him, "Sei nicht kein Chacham. Tell me ma zeis. You want to know why there are 3 kinds of mitzvahs? Sag mir, was is a mitzvah? And then you won't have your kasha. Mach nicht kein Pilpel." The Rasha says, "Mo aveda zeis lochem." The Ben Tam says to him, "You know what aveda means. Teach up. Was meint aveda?" And you'll stop being a Rasha. Ma zeis, if you knew what you're talking about, what else gewan klar? So we need to ask the kasha, the Tam, the Shailas Tam. You were talking about Sviras. Before you tell me how many there are, was is a Svira? Ma zeis. Dira betachteinin. It's very nice. I really hope that it happens soon. But tell me what it is. Like, was redt men da? Ma zeis. So, there are a couple of areas in which, if you're going to speak, if you're going to think, if you're going to be a chassid, you have to explain ma zeis in what areas? You didn't bring the list.
Mitzvahs.
Let's try it this way. If you were talking to a very frum person who sits al Torah val aveda kol yamav, and he wants to know what is Chabad Chassidus, break it down. You want to tell somebody who is a Rashke Bahag, and you want to tell him was zokt Chassidus about Torah. You have something to offer that he doesn't know, because he didn't learn Chassidus? What is Torah that he doesn't know?
Hashem's mind.
What? Why doesn't he know that? Because he doesn't believe in the Eibusher. If you're talking to somebody like that, and you want to tell him what al pi Chassidus Chabad, what is a Jew that he doesn't know? Al pi Chassidus Chabad, was heißt a mitzvah that he doesn't know? It's really interesting. That which the Gadol b'Yisrael, or the future Gadol, doesn't know, that's what the average Jew who doesn't know anything needs to hear. In other words, the mayones that the Talmud Chacham doesn't know is exactly what the guy in the street wants to hear. And that's why somebody says, you're mekadev somebody, you bring somebody into a Chabad house, the first thing you do is learn Tanya? First you have to start with Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. No. You go straight to the Mayonis, to the Mayon itself. So what they don't know is what everybody else needs to hear. Or in different words, they all need to hear it. So what's a mitzvah? According to the Mayonis. What is Torah? What is a Yid? What is an Eibishter? The more clear, the more definite our own understanding is, the more effective it will be for our children and for our mikuravim, for everybody. And it could even be that because of that you won't fry out. Could be. If you remember, the Rebbe used an expression very, very often. He said, "Hein darf man als opteichen." He was not happy about it. But it was a "Hein darf man als opteichen." There was a time when a person, a chassid, learned a maimer, he got it. He got it. Darf es opteichen mamish and werte? Not necessary. They had a chush for Chassidus. And the chush was real. You didn't have to, everything darf man opteichen and werte, and today you have to.
Lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's lost.
The chush?
Lost.
Yeah.
It's lost.
How about it?
It's a new age.
This is America. It's a completely different.
If someone had the chush, if you'd ask them to tie up,
Yeah.
they would be able to.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Rabbi Jacobson, all of us, Shalom. He would teach us Tanya in the small room off the small zal. That's where all the Bachrim of 770 fit into that room, into the back room of the zal. And here's his husband. Eid, das is Eid. And he knew exactly what he was talking about, but nobody else did. Eid. Yeah. No. This is Eid. Good. Unfortunately, you have to say it in English. It is unfortunate, by the way. Van één zijde. Jede zaak darf man oppinnen en grabbe werten. You don't get it. Huh? But that's the tachteinem nebuch. You know, what are you going to do?
My question is it a different type of limud? Do they understand it the same way as upteiching?
They understood it more in hafshate.
Right.
And we have to be malbish everything.
So it's different.
So when you think, we say you learn a maimah 7 times, and you understand it. Now sit down an 8th time and discover that you really didn't understand it at all. So what I'm saying is, you learn Chassidus, there's a certain comfort level. That's how dir betachtenim, and if you ever does, and what does it, that's dir betachtenim, and amen, mamish, that's it. You sometimes you forget to check. Do I know what I'm saying? Do I know it? Not in Havana, in Mamoshes. Do you really know what you just said? Of course you know what you said. You can repeat it. It's noch nicht das. It's like the difference between Chachma Bina, but es fällt a bissel das. So we get very comfortable and satisfied. If I have the Chachma and I have the Bina and I can chaza the Maimer, then that's schon good, no? You have to force yourself to stop and say, no, what am I talking about?
Because it could be the Sfardim that we're learning our own Lashon HaKodesh. So you're saying the words, since you're saying the words in Lashon HaKodesh, you're using that sprach. You're not trying to think of how is this going to be in a different sprach.
Right.
But the problem is that since our sprach is the other sprach, so therefore we're not understanding when we're learning in a different sprach.
Right. So then when you come to say it in English, it's like a foreign language. When it doesn't...
You should get English books. We have to start reading how these...
No, you have to talk to yourself. When you talk to yourself, you talk in English. When you're learning a Maimah, you're talking in Yiddish. Or Lashon Kodesh. Somebody actually suggested that maybe the problem is that we start learning Chassidus too young. A Bachadl starts to learn Chassidus at 14. So he knows already 12 Prakim Tanya by heart. Now he's 17. And you ask him, what's a Sfira? I know that. I knew that when I was 15. So maybe until a Bachar appreciates Chassidus, he shouldn't learn.
You say it with everything. Same with Torah.
Huh?
You say it with everything. With Torah, with mitzvahs, with everything you say it.
Huh?
So Gemara, you can also say, by the time you get into he knows already all the Mishnahs and Braises and things, he knows already the whole Gemara.
And what is he missing?
Das.
Huh? In Gemara, you're not missing much. If you know the Mishnah and the Braisa, then you know it. What do you want? It's a different. In other words, even when you're 40, you don't know what the Gemara really wants.
Every 16-year-old kid finds Gemara miserable, and every Freya person finds Gemara unbelievable.
Fascinating. So, is it correct? We should start later? Yeah. Don't let him open a Tanya until he's chalishing for it. Shenet Menezah. That would be a real solution. Now, so you have to push yourself to get past the habit of learning.
You were on the notion before of explaining. You brought up the 7 things of Torah, Mitzvah Hashem, Yidin. We started that when we went off.
Yeah, the project is like this.
One thing, ha'ora of them of limit am Benegeit Chassidus. So dort zwei Nekudas Chassidus. So dort der Etzem Afalpis mit Chassidus Chabad is avon. Aber der Chiluk für Chassidus Pearl mit Chassidus Chabad nicht nur Achilles, das selbe Chassidus. Und das ist abgeteilt, das ist nicht abgeteilt. Ich will Teres HaBachshem Magid, aber Teres Chabad hat die alles Gutes, was sie durch Chassidus, wenn Yid lernt am Eimer, wie steht Schmires Divri Arav, und in die Wörter von der Rabbeim, wenn Pnimis Atera wie steht, ist Magal, Pnimis Atera, das Rolle Reise, das Kischer bis Kascher, der Yisrael, bei Reise, Bekutsche Bricha, Bekol, Darga, Sosim, der Reise, Pnimis Atera, Chassidus, Divri Arav, der Meimer, der Chassidus, lernt es, das ist der Mayon, und das, im Megale bei Yidden, sie öffnet auf, sie Megale bei Yidden, sein Connection, sein Pnimis, seine Schamme, mit Göttlichkeit. Und das ist aber Ziel, das ist, wenn lernt, Eise Eifische Beise Yemsche lernt am Eimer Chassidus, das ist Divri Arav, und die Wörter, das der nimmt, den Schamme, und das Megale den Schamme, und das öffnet der Riker. Aber dennoch, darf man eigentlich, der Eimer, darf man das
Er lernt es nicht, alle mit dem Afshe. Viele lernt es nicht, alle mit dem Afshe.
Is der Maimer is Divri Elikim Chaim, das ist Divri, aber sei, das ist Chassidus. Und das peilt. Sie versteht ja, wie das peilt und wo das peilt, so peilt. Das ist Primis,
The subconscious level.
A subconscious level, right? Peilt es. Das ist Primis Atera und das ist Megale und verbindet und Megale, was man soll ich sagen, die Wörter drauf, verbindet es und Megale, Sosim de Neshama, die hechere Dargas de Neshama, is verbindt es mit Göttlichkeit. Den anderen ist, darf es sagen, aber Step 2, darf es sagen, durch den Chabad. Es darf durch den Chabad von der Shalikis, Chabad von der Shasichlis, der Shabamis. Darf es echt updaten in Havana, was sagt, updaten ist die Wörter.
So So I think the project was to take 7 subjects and identify 7 nekudas in each of the subjects that are ikrim in Chassidus, in Yiddishkeit, that are the basis, the fundamentals in teaching Chassidus. So, l'moshel, Torah, give me 7 nekudas that Chassidus says, was is Torah? In a way that's Eifen HaMiskabel. And if it's miskabel by them, it's miskabel by you too. Or the other way around. Until you explain it to somebody else, you didn't really understand it yourself. Find those nekudas, write them down properly in simple, correct language, make a bichala out of it. Every Chabad house can use it. Everybody going on miftzayim. There should be a psaklorkeit. What are we telling people? Who are we really? And what do we really want? So we've developed a reputation. Now all we want is you should do 1 mitzvah. Today. Right now. But what do you really want? You really want that people should become a little more niskarev to Yiddishkeit. Right. What do you really want? You want them to become the Rebbe's Chassidim. Don't tell them that today. You'll tell them that tomorrow. But that's what you want. So it would be nice if we put together a staff of people who have the time to push it, sit, and do a little research, and come up with 7 definitions of 7 different subjects, and put it down with Eisius Harav, but with a beer. Not long articles with pilpulim. Push it the basics. The painful thing is that a couple of years ago, one of the big magazines, Time, Newsweek, whatever it was, they did an article, The Spiritual Side of Religion. Something like that. And they went and spoke, in each religion there are the spiritualists. There's the regular Christians, and then there's the spiritual Christian. There's the regular does, and there's the spiritual. So they found in each religion, they found their spiritual guru. Who did they find in Yiddishkeit? Zalman Schachter. He's a spiritual person. So Simon Jacobson knows one of the writers in the magazine, and he said to him, "Whoops, you step us to Zalman Schachter, what he has a little program someplace in Colorado, Chabad." And the writer, who's a very nice guy, and he said, Masiach Lefitumei, he said, Chabad is social outreach. You go when there's a when there's a hurricane. That's you have a philosophy. He said, "Oh boy, are we in trouble? You're not spiritual people. You like big menorahs. We got to do something about this." Or like the shluchim say, you try to talk to them about chvezeps, Teichendike, hamaise hu ha'ike. But like you say, hamaise hu ha'ike, not hamaise hu hakol. And as one shliach said, hamaise hu ha'ike was, the Rebbe said thousands of times. Usually at the end of a 40-minute sikha. What did he say in the first 39 minutes? Nishnegeya hamaisa huayike. It's not ikir of what? That's another klotz kasha, the ben tam. Hamaisa hu ha'ikir. The ikir of what? Attention cup. Hamaisa hu ha'ikir. So if anybody's interested and has the time and has the chush, to put down on paper, was sagt Chassidus? But in English.
There's nothing out there?
Hebrew,